What an unsettling segue. Thank you, Brian and Melody, and hello, everyone. So what if we had a branch of our armed forces designed to root out a special kind of terrorist, the kind not of this world? Sci-Fi offers an answer tonight with the premiere of Hunters, a suspense drama from executive producers behind The Walking Dead and 12 Monkeys, which launched on Sci-Fi last year. This answer may leave you, as it does for its main character, quite unsettled.
What I'm about to show you is classified.
Who are you people?
We call ourselves the Exo-Terrorism Unit. This organization deals with the terrorists other agencies aren't equipped to handle. Like the ones we believe are responsible for the disappearance of your wife. The terrorists we're chasing aren't human.
I've never seen anything like this.
Welcome to ETU. Let me show you how it's done.
I need the truth. She's one of them.
I'm not like the other hunters. I control it.
My wife was kidnapped by one of those things, and you just expect me to work alongside one.
The unit needs you. Terrorists are the biggest threat humanity has ever known.
This is what needs to be done, and you can't stop us.
We're in your houses, where you work. We are many. We are everywhere. The end begins now.
Executive producer Natalie Chaidez was on Tomorrow We Televised 2 weeks ago. You can hear that interview at www.blogtalkradio.com/televised and iTunes. A trio of news notes ahead, but first a quick program note. We plan today to discuss the pending state bill amending Made in New York to increase diversity among TV writers and directors with the Writers Guild of America's East Branch. And that will happen next Monday with Executive Director Lowell Peterson. Now some news notes. 60 finalists for the Peabody Awards, considered the Pulitzer Prize of Media, will be announced tomorrow morning. That group will be reduced to 30 winners the following week, with the awards handed out May 21st here in New York. Tomorrow night marks the end of Al Jazeera America, the all-news channel, after more than 2.5 years on the air. A 3-hour retrospective is planned. And the following morning, Winston Baker will conduct its annual Film Finance Forum East Conference that for the first time will devote equal time to investments for the expanding scripted TV marketplace here in Brooklyn and beyond. New Media and Entertainment Commissioner Julie Menon is a keynote speaker. Coming up later this afternoon, Tomorrow We Televised, I'll have producers of America's Greatest Makers, the new TBS competition with a grand prize of $1 million. And Random Acts of Kindness, BYU TV's prank show with a heart. That's coming up 3 p.m. Eastern right here on Blog Talk Radio. And speaking of the Peabodys, coming up tomorrow, I'm pulling for American Crime on ABC, Netflix's Beast of No Nations film, as well as Transparent and The Man in the High Castle from Amazon.
Oh, yes, Transparent.
Those
But I just love that we were
choices.
just talking about those composers and speaking with those great composers, and we saw that trailer for The Hunters, and especially those shows, those suspenseful, kind of scary, creepy shows. The music is everything.
It is, Melody, and you know, it's been that way since television history. And I do agree that composing is sometimes some of the unknown or the underappreciated, not by the public, but by the industry. And I'm happy you had the composers on because, yes, there is a dearth of women, composers of color, women composers, women of color composers. Rachel Portman, by the way, the Oscar winner several years ago, one of the very few women that's really made it in film. But in television, I mean, you look at TV history, things like the National Geographic theme, all the wonderful scores from the 50s and 60s. For example, one of my favorite scores from the 50s is a show called The Rifleman, which is on AMC on Saturday mornings. Herschel Brooke Gilbert, who is an Oscar nominee in a number of categories over the years, was the person who created one of the first original film TV scores. And he once said in an interview that the score got more fan mail than the star, Chuck Connors.
I believe it.
And when you hear the score, it's really remarkable. And it's remarkable, by the way, they did not win an Emmy Award when it was on.
Every few years, there's always something flares up where they say that the title things, and those songs are going the way of the dodo, and there will be a whole swath of things where they just get into the show and they just show, here's our show, get into it. But it seems to like swing back and forth. Where's the pendulum now with title tracks?
It's moving back, but it's moving back on cable and Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. The problem with
Kimmy
broadcast
Schmidt.
television is because of the clutter of ads, you're not seeing like the theme song to a situation comedy. You're not seeing a 60-second, 90-second opening of a television show. I mean, remember growing up in the 60s, you watched the Patty Duke Show with that wonderful theme song, or Gilligan's Island, or you saw scores of shows like all the John Williams shows, like Lost in Space, The Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Paul Sotel. You have these wonderful evocative themes. Even in the 90s, Law and Order. But when you watch them on reruns, the title is cut. You know, Mike Post. Now you can't have a Mike Post, P. Carpenter theme song. But on cable TV, you know, we're 2 weeks away from Game of Thrones. And what do people think of Game of Thrones? The opening title with the wonderful music, which was done by a person of color.
It gives you all that time to get out of the kitchen or run from the bathroom. It's like, ding, ding, my show is on.
Absolutely.
In fact, HBO really has been responsible, I think, for the revival of the really
Sex
great
and the
opening
City.
title with music. You look at shows like Sex and the City, the wonderful score of The Sopranos, Thomas Newman's Emmy-winning score for 6 Feet Under with that great opening title sequence, Boardwalk Empire, Vinyl, et cetera, et cetera. You have these wonderful, very evocative opening titles. Even on AMC, The Walking Dead has a great opening title with theme music, and people get that, you know, and we're seeing, you know, a new generation of composers over the last 10, 20 years. People like Mark Snow, people like Thomas Newman, people like Rachel Portman, Mark Isham, who did the wonderful score for American Crime. John Legend now is doing Underground, which I'm sure he'll get an Emmy nomination for his beautiful work. You mentioned Timberland does Empire. So we are seeing some composers of color. We're just not seeing enough of them compared to the composer world at large.
So on the same diversity angle, you mentioned that tomorrow will be televised. I had a great get when you had Ms. Chaidez, who's the executive producer of the show we just saw a little while ago. Working in the sci-fi realm, are women breaking out of the made-for-TV sort of Lifetime Hallmark ghetto? And
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, Brian. In fact, a number of the television shows in the sci-fi field are now being produced by women. Shows like Lost Girl had women producers and associate producers. In the case of Natalie, she is one of the few, by the way, Latina executive producers. And she got her start on shows like The Walking Dead under Gail Ann Hurd, and also did 12 Monkeys last year. And one of the things she is very committed to is diversity behind the camera. And one of the things about Hunters, which has gotten mixed reviews, some people think it is a dead-on look at where terrorism might go with a bit of an allegory touch. Some people think it's way too much, it's way too intense. But Natalie is getting wonderful reviews for what she's doing behind the scenes with diversity, as you saw in the clip.
Very cool. So with these Peabody Awards nominations coming out, there's not one for composer. Maybe there should be.
Well, the thing is, with the Peabody Awards, there is no category.
Right. It's just you're awarded.
It's just you're awarded. That's the
For
meaning of the Peabody Awards. For excellence, whether it is for radio, television, online, et cetera, et cetera. And we have had individual Peabody Awards. I don't know if there's been one given to a TV composer or a composer who started in TV and went to film, like a John Williams, like an Elmer Bernstein. But maybe there should be. And we'll see. And the new thing with the Peabodys this year is that they're going with a two-stage process. They're going to have 60 finalists, and then they will break it down into 30. Usually the Peabodys give 30 to 35 awards a year, but because there is so much now, because of the boom of scripted TV and unscripted TV and online and digital and radio and local programming too, that they decided this year we want to honor more in a unique way. You know, not just be token, but really have these. So all these finalists will be honored, at least with the announcement tomorrow, and then they will, little by little, give you the 30 that are going to win. And then, of course, it all wraps up on May 21st in New York with a Saturday night event, which, by the way, will be hosted by Keanu Michael Key of Key and Peele.
Oh, cool. So
whose new movie's coming out soon.
Oh, Keanu. That I saw Subway ads.
Yes, the ads are all over the place. They're outside the Fulton Street station of the G train.
I can't say that I understand it, but keep watching. But do you think there are going to be any surprises? I know you said some bang-up shows there, but what do you think might be a sort of backdoor? I'm in the Pulitzer, with the Peabody, now that there's 60 that are being recognized. You think anything's going to sneak in there?
I think you're going to see maybe a show like Hulu's Difficult People. May have a shot. It's a very unique show. Or a show like Master of None, the IZ show, I think has a really good chance. And maybe even a show like The Mindy Project, which has gotten a second life on Hulu after it was canceled on Fox.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The thing is that one of the things that Peabody's do is they reward underdogs. There are a lot of shows that did not get the audience. They got the critical raves, but not the audience, and they'll come in. Incidentally, going back to the Winston Baker situation on Wednesday, this is going to be very special because for the first time we're going to see in a New York conference, a conference that's been devoted to how do we invest in film, we're going to hear a lot about television. Mentioned Julie Menon. This is going to be one of her first appearances as the new Mayor's Commissioner of Media and Entertainment. Yeah. We will ask her, by the way, what her thoughts about the main TV tax credit situation is if she takes Q&A. Also, Terrence Winter, who is the creator of Boardwalk Empire and Vinyl, will also be a keynote speaker. And if you haven't heard, unfortunately, he is being taken off the show for its second season. He's going to be continuing to work on HBO and other projects, but HBO decided we want to go in a different direction. I think they were spooked by the early ratings. Not the critical acclaim, but by the early ratings, which have been less than anticipated.
But before we get out of here, speaking of that beast of no nations and where they're focusing more on TV, it was the first sort of hybrid where we got that theatrical release and it was on Netflix available, and some of the theater people are not happy about the sort of cannibalizing the audience. So does the industry think there's going to be a future here, especially if they get like a Peabody? Is that going to...
I think Netflix believes that there is a future, but they're downplaying the future right now. I think they are taking a lesson from the Beast of No Nation theatrical release, and so what they're doing is when they're announcing a new film, they're not talking about the theatrical release. They're talking more about it premieres on Netflix that date, whether it's Special Correspondence, which is the Ricky Gervais film that is premiering in a couple of weeks. There's another project that was just announced that also is going to basically highlight the TV, because they know that Netflix will be on television with the smart sets and the smart devices. It's going to take a long time, I think, for the movie theater owners to consider simultaneous day-and-date release. If they decide we're going to release it in theaters first, like Amazon did with Chirac, the Spike Lee film, then I think they might be worth it. But if they decide simultaneous, I think the movie theater owners are going to say, no way.
Well, I haven't seen you guys in a long time together, so actually maybe since the last time we talked about Beast of No Nation, what ended up happening? Did any theaters actually sign on?
A few. A few did, and it did not make a lot of money, like $30,000 the opening weekend. Of course, it did not get nominated for Oscars. Netflix was really hoping that Idris Elba would be nominated, The Kid would be nominated, Carrie Fuqua would be nominated, and they weren't. But I think the Peabody would be a great way to rebound from that.
But the consolation prize, the Kid got to present an award at the Oscars, but tough subject matter too. But good for them for taking a stand and putting it out there. Like
and they got an Angelina Jolie film, by the way, which is equally, I understand, powerful, and that is coming out later this year.
Okay, this is my dark horse for the Peabody. I think that Chelsea Handler series that she did for Netflix.
Chelsea does.
I've been wondering about that one.
I think that she's gonna get a call.
Yeah?
I'm just making my prediction.
And don't forget her nightly show, whatever her show is going to be on, is going to be going on in a couple of months. So watch out for that too.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us as always, Simon.